Hello again, it's Tom Nichols speaking to you from Phnom Penh, and we're up to episode 8 of this Cambodia Arts VR Project podcast. I have just finished listening to day 1 of recording original material, an interview with an exceptional artist that is the basis, the foundation of the prototype that I'm here to do. This is like the 4th day I've been here, and it was a really big day for the project. Immediately upon getting here, faithful podcast listeners will know, my friend Rith, who is also the lead interviewer, I gotta stop saying interview, who will be leading our conversations with artists. He lined up immediately a couple of people for me to talk to, and we all 4 of us had lunch together, and I explained things, and bing, bang, boom, scheduled next day. And so this morning at 10 o'clock, we were set up outside on the grounds of the Fine Arts University of Cambodia, which I learned today during the interview is over 100 years old. The stories the place could tell. It's a beautiful place, really old-fashioned looking, and looks every bit of its 100 years, but it's in okay shape, and it's a kind of an oasis of calm. It's in the palace area, the tourist area, kind of the at least off to the side of one of the busy and noisiest parts of Phnom Penh. But when you're on this campus, it doesn't feel that way at all. What was going on when we arrived Sunday morning was students there, sort of hanging out together. Some of them are drawing and doing their artworks of various sort. There's groups of them practicing the dance in kind of various areas they had there. So a lot going on for a Sunday, but it was quiet, and we got some chairs sort of beside a little tree there in the grass, and there's, I hesitate to call it a quad, but it's a little outdoor grassy area there, and we all did our parts. I was supposed to be the one to, I guess, set the stage, set the whole thing in motion, create the thing in the first place, and then record it, make sure it happened media-wise. And I had it backed up and double backed up. I had a 360 video camera there. 360 videos shouldn't last very long, in my opinion, at least not at this point. So my idea was that we get started in 360 video mode with the 2 of them sitting there in their chairs by the tree in the grass and the camera between them. And the camera would be recording, of course, the 360 video and also audio. It's got an audio, built into it. It's not the greatest, but it's pretty good. But to, really get better audio and then to let the camera audio be backup, I had Lavs on Abel, who is, as I can't remember, I didn't introduce her in this podcast. So anyway, Abel is one of the most prominent dancers in Cambodia. So the idea was to get started on the interview with the Lavs going and the 360 video camera going, and sort of get the foundational parts in the 360 video mode. And then I just kind of, hopefully, I didn't know quite how it was going to happen. This is the first one of these I've done. Going to slide the camera out and just have them keep going for what would then become the longer, in-depth component that would be in a podcast or a narrated slideshow, perhaps. A couple other ways we can spin that off into different media. That was my idea, and that's what happened. It worked that way. I think I stopped the video recording a little bit sooner than I wanted to because it stopped on its own. It got warm. 360 video cameras heat up easily, get hot. And in Cambodia, we were in Cambodia, it was really hot. I think we had 8 minutes maybe of the 360 video. I could have gone for a little bit more, but the camera decided for itself, shut itself down, and so all in the back of my mind was, I hope this is going to be okay, but I was pretty sure it would. That was a self-protect mechanism, and that was it for the camera for a while, to let it cool down, and we'll deal with it later. That's what I did. And so I also then had the lavaliers going into a nice little Tascam battery-powered, really good audio recorder. They ended up talking for a good half hour. We started with her just saying who she was and where we were right now, what the setting was, and kind of what all the things she does that put together the life you have to be an artist, make a living at it. And then talked about her story. How did she get to be an artist? And then, what is the hopefully will be the consistent thematic aspect of this series of interviews, of this series of shows on art and culture in Cambodia today, is the idea of art as a transformative force. And we got to that too. Not only, kind of her thoughts on what she felt about how her art might impact other people as she was making it, but also things like, more particular things. We're in Cambodia. Cambodia went through some of the most difficult times of any nation in modern times, and art has played a tremendous role in the recovery and reemergence from those difficult times. So we talked some about what it then means to be a Cambodian artist, and she just had wonderful things to say about all of it. As I listened, like I say, I'm talking now just after having finished listening to that half an hour, whatever it comes to, of material. I think I know ways that I could have set things up better to improve it technically, although it's not bad. First time out of the chute, just set it up, ran it, and did it. And it's pretty good, but I see ways I could get better. I see ways that Rith can get better as an interviewer. He brings a lot of personality to it and gets the idea, but I think as he listens to it, and hopefully we'll do more of this, I think he'll learn and get better too. But he has what it takes, which is that he cares about the people he's talking to. He's good with words, and he's kind of a colorful talker too. But the real point of any interview is to feature the interviewee. The whole point of this is for the artist to be the star, and one way or another, between the technical setup, the idea, and then Rith's interviewing, Abel does turn out to be the star. She's easily the star. In those, whatever it is, 25, 30 minutes that we have, there's probably 8 to 10 minutes of really, really good stuff. And I'm going to have to decide, am I only going to use really just excellent material? Really, you listen to it and go, wow, yeah, good, well said. Or will I, pace it a little bit more, put a little bit of Hamburger Helper in there and make it a little bit longer. I think the latter, because when Hamburger Helper has kind of a negative connotation, the stuff that isn't incredibly good is also okay. But it's going to take some editing, some arrangement too. I don't think the sequence that it got recorded in is necessarily the sequence that I want to present it in, and it would be best presented in. So we'll see. I've just finished listening to it. I have some ideas, but I need a little bit of space now and to reflect. But what I'm saying is, to just go out there with this equipment and the field grassy area of a university in Phnom Penh, and just it worked. Pretty good day for the project. Again, as I'm trying to keep this focused on the project. Maybe it is a personal journal because the project is a very personal project, and I'm cognizant of the fact that it's playing a strong role in my personal lifespan little development phase here. I'm in these early retirement years, and the project is kind of this passion project of love that a lot of people might think, if only I didn't have to work, think of all the good things I could do. This is my shot at doing that. That's the story that I'm trying to tell. There were other things that went on today, not necessarily germane to the project, although not germane either. It just so happened that the place where I stay here, I plan to continue to just keep staying here, YK Art House. It's just a funky place with people coming through. I've made friends, met people. I just like it here. In terms of creature comforts, it could do better. It's definitely not a 5-star hotel or 4 or anyway, but it's okay. It's good enough, and it's got people. Why I said that was that there is a Cambodia History Book discussion group that was getting started just as I was here back in November, and so I joined up with the group and was in for a number of the chapters in the earlier years of the pre-Angkor Wat era, the Angkor Wat era, and then I had to go home. Cambodian history marched on, and now we're up to the early 1800s, just before the French come in the guise of being protectors, end up being colonial conquerors. I had taken the responsibility of being the lead presenter for this chapter. So after the morning out there doing their 360 video and interviewing and being here on the project, I hustled back and had some lunch, and then led the Chapter 7 discussion group, which was so much fun. Oh man, I just loved it so much. Some of my favorite people who were in the group weren't there. They were traveling or whatever. So I was a little disappointed at first, but but people showed up, and it ended up being a great group. A couple of Cambodians, a couple of expats, and me. Some of the expats work for NGOs. That was the typical thing that brought most Westerners here for many years since, in the post Khmer Rouge years. This has been a country that the world has bent over backwards trying to build up again, and that's a lot of Westerners came here to be part of that process. Now there are people here just because Cambodia's getting to be a good place to be. It's an emerging new sort of little tech center and fashion and garment design center. So it's coming along, and there's people that live here for that reason, and it's because they want to be part of looking for a good job, and they're in the group too. So I guess I'll also mention, it's not so much germane to the project, but it's a good story. There's a lot of positive things happening here in Cambodia. That's why I'm here. I want to be part of those positive things. I want to keep them as positive and keep them growing more positive. But there are very difficult, highly negative things too. In particular, there have been, I'm going to say this as neutrally as I possibly can, but the government of Cambodia on one side has insisted that it is under threat of hostile takeover, that there are foreign countries who have political representatives in Cambodia kind of acting in their interest, and the current government has acted aggressively to protect itself from what it claims are threats. A lot of the world thinks these threats don't have a strong evidence base. Nevertheless, one side sees it one way and other people see it another way. With that backdrop, in recent months there has been some striking crackdowns here. Prominent people put in jail, prominent media vehicles shut down because of what the government claims is seditious behavior. A young woman who worked for one of those papers was a member of the group. So, just the idea of meeting a young person and she's starting in her career and gets her job at a newspaper, and then that newspaper gets shut down because the government claims that it's acting against the best interests of the country. And once again, if whoever is listening to this podcast, please hear me being someone who's just trying to describe the facts as neutrally as I can. Obviously, the young journalist didn't feel neutral about things at all. I just feel kind of blessed to get to meet someone who is having this life experience. So anyway, it was real. There was other people in the group too that were really colorful, and it was a great discussion of the topics. I tried to bring out some of the big ideas that we could thrash some, and we did. And but then people just stayed around and hung out, well past the time that the thing was over, and just kind of were chilling together. So a really good group to be part of. And as it was winding down, I looked around. There was Sve, my emerging older friend here, who I have extended a camera to, and I'm hoping that he will be part of a little guerrilla network of new media producers that I'm going to see if I can help assemble here. And we were going to be working together this afternoon. There was going to be a second set of interviews right after the book club. I was going to have to rush off from the book club, but I didn't, because the artist who we were going to speak with had to cancel at the last minute due to death in his family. I sent Sve a message saying that because he was going to come and be part of the team this afternoon. I guess he didn't read his instant message or whatever, so he showed up. Nevertheless, we just talked a little bit and kept our little bonding thing going. And I told him where things stand is that I'm going to be going up to Arn and Sema's place tomorrow night. Wow. And then going on the bus early next morning to some village up in the middle of nowhere and doing some recording of the Khmer Magic Music Bus performers playing their music, Cambodian music, to people who may not have heard it for a generation. So I'll be out of town. I'll be out of town for the next couple of days. And when I come back on Wednesday, we're going to be recording some kind of dress rehearsal of Abel's students who are part of this happens to be Culture Week in Cambodia. And one of the things that happens in Culture Week is that various kinds of artists perform competitively. Some of her students are in a competition doing a dance that she and they developed together about resilience, as a matter of fact. I'll probably do some more recording at the dress rehearsal Wednesday afternoon, and I talked to Sve about joining up with us then, and I believe he'll be able to do that. So still, they're trying to sort of make manifest this team idea. But then since I didn't get to go and do the second interview, I went instead to something I had also done last time I was here, which is that just a couple of blocks away, 5-minute walk, there is every Sunday afternoon free, all volunteers from the Khmer side, language lessons. And it's mostly expats who are really trying to learn Khmer because they're here in Cambodia. And not a lot of people sort of just like me with a somewhat more casual relationship to the country. But anyway, I have my reasons for learning it, and it is just a really fun group. The Khmer volunteers are just loose, funky people. Like more I could say, but I'll leave it at that for right now. And just really welcoming and open. There's a young woman who sort of is the head of it, and just in particular, she's just radiates affection from as soon as you get close to her, and just really draws you in. So I went to that. I walked over, and it's the lesson part goes for about, it might have been 2 hours, at least an hour and a half. It's not super formal. It's a certain amount of creative chaos going on, but we got some stuff done. We divide up into beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and believe it or not, folks, I'm considered intermediate. What we focused on in our group was the concept of questions in Khmer and the placement of the question words, specifically things like what, where, when, why, how. The vocabulary for those question words is fairly straightforward, although some of them, particularly how, have a whole lot of ways of being expressed. But the placement of the word is interesting. It's usually at the very end of the sentence, but not always. So we talked about kind of that general idea of, what is the vocabulary for answering the what, where, how, when, how questions, and where do you place it. And then we just kind of used it some in examples. How long have you been here? Where did you come from? When did you eat? Things like that. And very useful. And again, the other thing is that a lot of my learning has been somewhat formal. I've used a textbook. My teacher, Wana, believes that you should really learn it correctly before you start getting completely sloppy. But I got to tell you, the people that speak Khmer speak sloppy. They just drop every consonant and every word they possibly can. Just amazing. And that within a context in which there is already no tenses. Future, present, and past are the same. No articles, no the, a, stuff like that. And then they just drop off even more than that. It's just amazing. Anyway, that's been part of my fun, is to see how different other languages are, and in this case, the incredible difference. I'm not talking about sort of colloquial dialects. I'm talking about a general hacking of the formal language in the way that everybody talks. So I enjoyed that a lot. And people remembered me, my beard, a distinctive look, I guess, and, oh, so glad to see you. I haven't been here for a while, and da-da-da-da-da. So that was kind of fun, too. And then we'd have a dinner together afterwards. And, I managed to connect. Particularly, there was a couple there who were my age. They were an English couple from near Manchester, up north. And they're also in their retirement years getting involved in helping out here. Their form of helping out has to do with education. He's sort of consulting with a group of schools and trying to, get the educational curriculum more modern and useful. So they're good people, and it was just fun having dinner companions. As I've said before, about the only time I ever get lonely here is at dinner. Oh, it's nice to have dinner with someone, and that's what I got to do today. After dinner, I came back home. Yeah. YK Art House. Before I started to go into podcast mode here, I did what I told you. I handled my files for the day. I transferred the video files off the 360 camera. I haven't really checked them out yet. But more importantly, I transferred the audio files off of the recorder. I listened to them in my editing software. And that's why I know it's good, and it just made me feel so great to know that there's some quality material in there too. That's where things stand here on Sunday night. I have some pretty exciting days ahead of me. The project has some exciting days ahead of it because the Khmer Magic Music Bus is going to be another feature story. When we talk about art and artists and culture in Cambodia today, I'm not just talking about an individual artist, and I'm hoping that we tell the story of the Khmer Magic Music Bus over and over because it's going to keep growing and changing too. So that part of the project begins really soon, and there you go. On that happy note, I have nothing scheduled tomorrow morning, so I can take it nice and easy before I start to take off for the hinterlands. And I don't know if I'll be able to do some podcasting the next couple days. We'll see how that goes. I'll do the best I can. I'll certainly be documenting it in a number of ways. It's been my pleasure sharing this in a variety of media. It's really been good for me to do it. Anybody listening to the end here, I hope you've enjoyed it too. So thanks again for listening, and bye for now. That's the end of episode 8.